Hey guys, Dave Anderson here, Helicool's Helipad. Hey, today we're going to be looking at a few emergencies and accidents that I've seen on the internet, on YouTube, and some of them have just been flat out wrong, mislabeled, whatever. And I've also got a few surprises for you guys because you've left in the comments some things that you want me to take a look at that you either saw in a movie or somewhere else. We're going to get to that right now. You guys stay tuned. Paul writes, look up the helicopter scene in Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. Always wondered how they destroyed this helicopter. A complete accident and most expensive scene. Plus, it's a good laugh. All right, let's check it out. Oh, this is a very simple one. Watch what happens right here. Okay, we'll freeze that. Yeah, he actually came in and did a decel and struck the tail rotor and probably broke the tail rotor, broke the drive shaft or whatever, and then he had no tail rotor authority anymore. So it went into a spin. I mean, you can see the dust being kicked up from when it hit the tail rotor. And he was just along for the ride after that. Now let's go forward a little bit further. Did you hear that? Did you hear the pilot chop the throttle right at the very end there? They do this to help remove all of that torque that's in the main rotor system. When they chop the throttle, a lot of that torque comes out and the spin will... it won't stop, but it will get a little bit more under control, and that's what he did. So it actually took him a couple rotations to say, oh boy, I better chop the throttle, and he did. Unfortunately, he's still turning very violently, and he's really close to the ground, which that's kind of a good thing sometimes, to be close to the ground instead of really high. And the aircraft ends up grabbing the ground and still pitching over and rolling the aircraft. The rest of this whole scene is complete Hollywood. Is it going to make that explosion kind of thing? No. Is it going to catch on fire? Nah, probably not. Normally speaking, these things are fairly crash worthy. Unless, there was a bunch of fuel spillage and there was something hot that caught it on fire. Yes, it would catch on fire. As quickly as it's shown here? No, not a chance. This is exactly why when you do a decel close to the ground, you actually gain a little bit of altitude and then you pitch the tail rotor back, thus maintaining the altitude of the tail rotor. Because that long tail boom, you don't maintain the tail rotor altitude, it strikes the ground or strikes the trees. So do the maneuver right and you won't have that problem. This next one is entitled 180 Auto Low Rotor RPM. So he's already chopped the throttle. He's trying to make that turn, but he's not turning it fast enough. No way. And then, oops. Look how fast that rotor RPM is going. Do you think it's low rotor RPM? I don't think so. Well, I'm definitely not saying that the 180 auto is an easy maneuver. It's not. You actually have to do quite a bit of thinking while you're going into that maneuver. First chopping the throttle, starting your auto rotation, and then when you bank the aircraft around, there's actually quite a lot of air that is pushing up through the rotor system. So it will tend to build your rotor system probably to the upper end, and you'll have to add power, add collective, in order to stop the rotor system from running away past the maximum RPM that the rotor can go. So you're pulling power in, and you gotta keep that turn in, and they just did not keep that turn in. Not to mention, right at the very end, watch this again. Here's what you do at the end of an auto rotation. You put in some decel, which they did barely because they were just rolling out of that turn. And then you have to pull what's called initial. That initial pull helps stop that rate of descent. That's what it's supposed to do, arrest the rate of descent. And then once you do that initial pull, and if it's not enough, you better start pulling the rest of your reserves to cushion that aircraft onto the ground. Well, by the time they hit, it was too late. It was over. You can see that the rotor RPM is just zipping along, so it isn't rotor RPM. It is pilot error. Okay, let's see what kind of stupid human tricks we can get into. Okay, not good. High altitude, high density altitude. Oh boy, no, no, no. Aircraft doesn't have a whole lot of lift at that altitude, does it? Just found that out, didn't you? Oof. I hope they survived that one. You know, one of the things that really chaps my hide is when folks show off, and that's usually when they get into the biggest trouble. I mean, look at the terrain. You're looking at some pretty high altitude mountains, and then you can even tell when the aircraft zipped on by, you see that cyclic climb. It's even having a hard time coming up into that cyclic climb. It actually does climb up a bit, but it should have told the pilot something, that there's not a whole lot of air up here to produce a whole lot of lift. So maybe we shouldn't be doing the maneuvers that, you know, we screw around with at sea level up here at whatever it was, 8,000 feet. I don't know what it is, but it looks pretty high up to me. And you can kind of tell it's high up because of the way the aircraft acts. So planting it into the ground, I just hope they didn't kill anybody that was on the ground. Because you see all those people standing out there? You see all those people? There's a lot of people standing out there watching this, and I hope you didn't just drag your helicopter through all those people. All right, these look like some attack helicopters. I don't think that's an Apache. It looks like Russian Havocs. Uh-oh. His tail rotor's working, it looks like. Oh, he's got loss of tail rotor effectiveness. Get some forward airspeed. Retro. He's got a whole bunch of altitude. Why didn't he try to get some forward airspeed? I mean, he was coming down really fast, so it almost looks like he just bottomed out the collective. Next! Wow, this one is very sudden. It looks to me like he's flying in, and it looks like he's probably a little bit downwind. And what happens is the wingtip vortices off the main rotor, when you're going downwind and he's got a slight decreasing altitude with a lot of power applied, looks like he got himself into settling with power. Settling with power is basically settling in your own downwash. These wingtip vortices get larger and larger and larger, and pretty soon there's a huge column of air coming down. And it looks to me like he just fell through right in that column of air. I mean, this was very rapid. Not a whole heck of a lot he could have done except get some forward airspeed, or in this case, sideward airspeed to get out of that column that is just driving him right into the water. Very sudden, very dangerous situation. Hey guys, I really hope that you enjoyed this. For me, I don't really like watching helicopter crashes because it just reminds me of too many bad memories. Now that I've been looking at these on YouTube, what do you think shows up on several of my suggested videos now? Yeah, great. Thanks, YouTube. So if you liked the video, mash on that like button, leave a comment, let me know what you think. I'm Dave Anderson, signing out. Until next time, you guys be safe, and God bless.